Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. Yo, what is up? What is happening? Thank you so much for listening to Hyphenate with Randy Randall. That is me. And on today's show, I'm really excited. I have the pleasure of sitting down and speaking with not one, not two, not even three, but four epic human beings who have had such incredible journeys on the musical landscape, on an artistic landscape, on a whole lifetime landscape. Today, my guests are the magical supergroup Wah Together, featuring Vito, the drummer from the Rapture, Steve Schiltz, guitar player, singer man from Longwave, Phil Mossman, bass dude of LCD Soundsystem et al. Writ large. He has an epic story that you will hear. And singer Jaiko Suzuki from Electroputas and a million other cool, awesome artistic experiences. So please sit back, enjoy the wild story of four epic human beings from the New York underground, from epic bands that everyone's heard, and let's Wah Together. Here we go. Wah Together! Yay. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's great to see you all again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So this show is called Hyphenate, and the idea behind that was I thought about, myself and the people I like to talk to, or the people I'm most excited about or interested in are people that do more than one thing and who have kind of had a long, whether that's continuous, simultaneous, or over a lifetime. It sort of feels like, that the days of the one subject expert has kind of gone in the history books, and now everybody is at one time or another wearing many hats, myself included. By starting this podcast, it's a new arrow in my quiver, and so I thought. You guys would be a perfect fit. I mean, this is the collage band in so many ways, right? So yes. Tell me, how did you guys meet? How did this project get started? And then we'll go into your histories and kind of what brought you to this point. But let's talk about this band first and how it all began.
I think Phil started the band.
Yeah. By accident.
What happened? Tell me.
Yeah, Steve and I both had recording studios in a basement in Dumbo. We were like basement rats. He was my next door neighbor.
I'm still here.
Steve's still there. He's probably there right now.
Yeah.
I got out. Me and Steve were hanging out one day, and I'd also bumped into Vito recently, who I've known for years because of the Rapture and LCD and all that. And I said, I'll swing by sometime, whenever, just drop by. And he did. It just sort of happened organically, really. We just sort of ended up in the same room. I had a drum kit set up and some big amps set up. And Steve bought some guitars and pedals and whatnot. We just said, let's have a laugh.
I didn't know Vito.
Yeah, we know.
Oh, Steve didn't know Vito. Yes, yeah.
So I met Vito when you had him over that day. You were like, come next door. My friend Vito's coming.
It started off, sort of a bit of a, sort of rock and roll dad support group sort of thing on a Wednesday night.
No, it was morning.
With loud amplifiers.
Yeah, it's morning because it's dad's. Yeah.
During the day.
Yeah, and we jammed for that first day, and I think the first jam ended up being who we are. It's on the first album.
Wow.
I remember the
album.
first jam being that drum beat. Was it Sleep?
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah, that's probably
Like,
right. Yeah.
and I was like, this is a cool. Like, I just liked the way Vito played right away. It was like obviously someone who played with songs in his head and parts in his head, and not just like.
It wasn't
Yeah.
soloing the whole time.
No,
Unfortunately, no.
Nah, I wish I could.
I think I threw up like 4 microphones or something, 2 mics on the drums, one on Steve, one on me, just press record. And I think we tried to record some of those tracks again later, better quality, but we just couldn't get the same vibe as that instantaneous eruption. It was just all about just the vibe and sort of improvisation and just having fun, really. And it was hard to recreate that in spontaneity.
Yeah, it really clicked like immediately.
Yeah.
And then for me,
So
I hadn't played drums for like with other people. I'd been just in the studio for a couple of years, so it was like a real just to play loud and hard was super fun. Like it was kind of this release at the time. So
Amazing.
caught that for
Yeah, from my perspective, being a rock guy mostly in my I remember it was interesting playing with Phil and Vito because we would play and then we'd be hit on something, and then after what must have been 32 bars or whatever, like 64 bars, like the right amount of time, all 3 of us would change. And it was like, oh, these guys are also DJs. Like they're like, it was also like very obvious to me. It wasn't like in a normal rock band jam setting where like one guy kind of starts changing and maybe one person follows, maybe one person's not even listening at all and just pushing through it all. It wasn't like that at all. It was much more like, it was more interesting to me.
Well, I think that comes with experience too, right? Like you say,
Maybe.
you've done it so many times, or there's the place you want to go, and if everybody else goes there instinctually, it's some sort of telepathy or primal
I
groove.
think it's natural, and I think everybody listens, which is really like which is keep on like, but everybody's really good at listening to each other, like which is a skill and kind of a talent itself. And so I think it helped make it much easier immediately.
But none of this would mean anything unless Vito brought Jaiko in.
That's what I was going to ask.
Next.
Yeah.
So that's the next step.
How does that happen?
Jaiko's not a dad.
Okay. If you say so.
Was not there during the daily jams.
How did Jaiko come into this motley crew?
Vito.
Jaiko, do you want to say? You want me to say start, and then you could say from your perspective, or
You start.
Yeah. Okay, so we jammed a handful of times, and we had all these jams, like these, and we really liked them. We're like, God, this is great, and it's fun and it sounds good. So it'd be great to have a vocalist on these. And I was I personally didn't want it to be like a dude rock band. Like, so I was like, man, it'd be nice to have something a little more interesting. And I've known Jaiko for years and years, and I saw her perform at a opening or a cafe. I can't remember what it was. It was like
once.
Once in a store, but I'd never heard Jaiko sing like as a front. It was just her and somebody playing acoustic guitar. And I was like, man, I love Jaiko's voice. And I was like, I didn't know Jaiko sang like that. And so I kind of just filed it away. And I was like, I think Jaiko could be really cool for this. So I hit her up and sent her a track and, had no idea. And she did an amazing job.
She finished all the songs, is what happened.
Exactly, yeah.
So what is it from your perspective? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. She turned these like 14-minute jams and condensed them down to 4-minute songs. That was the next part of the process.
Yeah, I think the first track is Tobu. She came in, and that what you hear is what she did. Like it was just, like a song, which was great.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your perspective, Jaiko?
Oh, yeah. So Vito sent me an email if I want to do anything, and I was just like, oh, but I don't know, if I can do it, but I try it. But it was really great because I didn't know Phil and Steve, but Vito told me I can do anything, like in English or Japanese or whatever. And then once I started, I got so into it. It was so fun. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know I can do this, but I can do it. It's so fun. So I went to Vito's. So me and Vito recorded first, like, sketches together, but they were basically done. Like I really, got it. But then I met Phil and Steve. Then it was good. Mm.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember when we met, Jaiko. I'm thinking about this now. Did you come down to Phil's place? When did we actually, the
Yeah.
first time we actually met? Oh, okay.
I went to Phil's place, and then but me and Vito already maybe tried like 3 tracks at that point.
No,
And
I
we
remember that. I remember
with
Vito
you.
sent back Tobu, and I was like, this is wonderful. But I don't remember actually if that was
You
before or after we met.
you messaged me on Facebook and said,
I did?
"Okay, this is great." Yeah.
How
I was like,
creepy.
wow, what a nice guy.
What a creepazoid.
No, it was really nice.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's so cool. And so, like you said, there were 14-minute long songs, and then Jaiko, you kind of found what you thought was a good beginning, middle, and end, or how did that sort of, you gave it some form lyrically?
I gave some form, but then we edited a lot of stuff together. That's why it took a while to edit shit down.
That's amazing. So then maybe we'll kind of go back in this sort of same order. But so Jaiko, how did you come to music, and what is your background with music in New York, and we'll sort of get in everybody's personal story and what brought you up to these points now.
I was always a performer. Like I was a stripper, dancer, and this and that, many things. Mermaid. I DJ'd and this and that. But I also play drums with this band called Electroputas. It's just like a avant-garde, crazy noise band. And then I love playing drums too, but I didn't really sing until I guess I started singing more in like 2015. Then I knew I wanted to sing more. So this was a great, like, oh, cool. Like somebody want me to sing. But I didn't know. I've never really been like a front person in a rock band before. So the first time we played, as I went on the stage, I was like, oh, I've never done this. Like I don't know how to do this really, but I'll do it. But it's always fun.
Wow. And then you're from Japan, and when did you come to New York, and what was that experience like?
I came in the 90s, like mid 90s, I think. Then I just blended right in. I loved it so much. I just like, first day, I was like, I love it. I wasn't like shocked about anything. I just like, it felt so much easier to me. I still find it much easier to be here than in Japan.
And where in Japan were you coming from?
I'm from like a suburb of Tokyo. I mean Tokyo, but like Tokyo is big, so it's like the outskirts of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Total nothing town, like super boring, super nothing. Yeah,
But New York was more your speed.
yeah.
Amazing. So cool. And then Vito, what is your story, and how did you get to this point to create Wa together?
Well, yeah, I guess I grew up in a boring suburb in San Diego, and I didn't really get into playing music until I was like 18 or so. A little later, I started going to punk shows, and me and then I formed a few bands, and the band that stuck was this band Rapture. So, and me and the singer and guitar player Luke started it, and we grew up together. We were like best friends, and just kind of did everything together. Started going to shows, and we're like, well, let's play music. So we each picked an instrument, and then kind of like bummed around San Diego after high school for a few years, going to community college and playing in random bands, just starting to play, and then decided to go to film school in San Francisco. So I moved up there, and once I got up there, I continued to play, and I started a band with this guy Jeffrey Paradise, called The Calculators, and he has a band called Poolside that I play in now. So it's I've kept these long friendships and musical connections, but just formed the Rapture there, and then moved to Seattle for like 6 months, and then moved out to New York in like early 99, and mainly like for years was just that band kind of took all my musical time and energy. So that was what I was doing. But met the DFA guys early on. That's how I met Phil, and met Jaiko I was in Japan, I think. Maybe my wife's Japanese, so I don't know if we're visiting or playing a show, but I met her there with Nick from the IAS, and just like, kind of met everybody through music too. But I played drums. It's my main instrument, but about 10 years ago, I built a studio because I really wanted to like learn how to and figure out how to like produce and engineer and mix. And it was something that I was always really interested in, and I loved doing. Like I loved recording, with all the other bands. So that's kind of been like the last 10 years. This is where I hang out, and then still been making music and doing all the other stuff you're talking about. We're wearing a bunch of hats.
Amazing. Yeah. So you produce other bands and engineer and record there?
Yeah, mainly my projects. Okay. But other stuff too. Yeah, just kind of like, just like record drums and set up.
Awesome. Yeah, drums are definitely one of those instruments where you realize the studio makes such a big impact on how they turn out. Or it's the space. You're capturing the air around the drums. You're not really capturing the drums. So where is that air, and how does it sit in the room, and what is it doing?
I've noticed so many engineers are drummers, like as their musical background, and I think that's not an accident, because it's kind of the trickiest and the hardest thing to record, and so like it takes a lot more. So I think there's a kind of a natural intersection there.
Totally. Yeah. You can't just turn a knob and make them sound
different. Just plug in and turn it up. Yeah, exactly.
Which I think there is some kind of sort of catch-22 or sort of irony to it all. You think about drums sort of being the most primitive, you're hitting things with sticks. You're hitting skins with sticks, and there's something so simple about it. But the translation of that into a recorded medium, capturing the feel and the sound of that most basic of sound production is sort of where the science, turns itself inside out to
it's
get
like
that.
Way more technical. Yeah. It's like this kind of extreme. Yeah. I mean, why wanted to play drums was for the first reason you said. I just love like the physicality of it. It's fun. But then as you do it for a while, like I wanted it to sound how I heard it in my head, so I had to figure out that side.
Yeah. That's the amazing part, and then there goes the rest of your retirement fund and your kids' college fund.
Yeah, if I only knew. Yeah.
You start. I just wanted to record drums while I heard in my head.
I know.
$100,000 later, like it still just doesn't sound right. It's still it's still not quite there.
I should
Amazing.
play bass for guitar.
which is a great transition. We'll go to Phil on bass. Phil. So what is your story? How did you come to this moment in your life? Where did it all begin?
How long have you got?
Yeah.
We're good. We got time. This is the format of podcasting. We go long.
Well, I'm from West London, sort of right out near Heathrow Airport, and one of my first jobs, I got in a guitar store, a music store. So I wanted a job where I could just sit around and learn how to play guitar and bass and drums all day. So, and an Indian family moved in next door to that store and opened like a convenience store, and that was Jags Kuna, who's went on to be a very noted producer, worked with Andrew Weatherall and Primal Scream. He's still quite a prolific producer in the UK. But we sort of became fast buddies, and he had a little recording studio in his sort of garage at the back of the store. And we used to do tracks in there, and we got picked up by Andy Weatherall and started working with him around, sort of post-acid house era. And they started a band, Sabres of Paradise, which I ended up in. And they had a recording studio in this like depressed council estate in that area that the Chemical Brothers famously were too scared to go to. It was all like, sort of hypodermic syringes lying around in the stairwells and that kind of thing. But Andy Weatherall liked, the sort of grimy urbanness of it all, I think. So we started making tracks there. And when that ended, I got a job at Battery Studios, which was like a big commercial recording studio owned by Zomba Records. And they had artists like R. Kelly. He used to turn up. And I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, learning how to engineer and record. It was, worked me really hard. I was an employee, so just working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just constantly on one session after another. But that's where I learned my sort of recording and producing sort of side of my thing. So after I got burnt out doing that, I met David Holmes, who called me up out of the blue one day and said he was looking for like a multi-instrumentalist who could engineer. And so I said, yeah, I can do that. And I started commuting to Belfast to work with David Holmes, who was like doing a lot of dance tracks and remixes. And the Troubles were still on. It was still a war zone when I was commuting out there. I'd get a flight from London on Monday. We'd work until like Wednesday or Thursday, and then I'd fly back to London. And David always wanted to get into film scores. And one of his tracks got picked up in Hollywood to be licensed for a movie, which was like a Danny DeVito produced movie, and Steven Soderbergh was the director, and George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez were the stars. It was Out of Sight, it was called. And David, being David, said, no, you can't license the track, but I will take a meeting with you about doing the music. So he got flown out to LA, had a meeting with Steven Soderbergh, and came back with the entire score. So our studio in Belfast was basically a bedroom studio in his house, you know, with samplers and a few synths and that kind of thing. So we're working on this big movie in his bedroom in Belfast. And eventually they got fed up with that and said, no, you're coming over here. So they dragged us out to Los Angeles and put us up in Sunset Marquis Hotel, which had a recording studio in the basement, so they could just keep an eye on us. They just sort of locked us up in this hotel with the recording studio in it, and there we stayed for about 3 months working on this movie. And then after that, we went to New York to work on the record, and then that's where we met James Murphy, and there's a whole documentary about all the capers and trouble we got into in that period. Meet Me in the Bathroom, that's out now, and that covers that whole sort of David Holmes expedition to New York, which was, you know, amazing for me. It was just incredible just being out in New York for 6 months or however long it was. And I met a girl, ended up having to stay in New York, and James eventually asked me to join LCD Soundsystem when he made that band. And then I met Vito through the Rapture and that whole DFA scene, and then we come to war together.
Wow, that is a journey and a half.
It was.
He promised you.
That's great.
I know, I've heard a lot of that. I love it.
Yeah,
No, I didn't know a lot of that either.
And I'm sure there's still a million stories that were not included in there.
Oh, that's the short version, trust
right?
me.
Yeah. From the Council Estate recording studios to Sunset Marquis, and then yeah, the birth of LCD Soundsystem. I mean,
they were wild and fun and very creative days. I wouldn't want to go through them again, but I'm glad I did.
And studio also, right? So now, so Vito has a studio, Phil has a studio, and are you still recording and producing? Is that still one of your hats you wear, or where are you currently at with your?
I do a lot of film scores now, and as I say, I used to have a studio in Dumbo next to Steve, but when COVID hit, my wife and I, we bought a little farm upstate, and I've got a barn up there that
wow, look at that.
I'm currently converting into a recording studio. So yeah, we're a very recording studio rich band. All of us have one.
That is exciting. I mean, I feel like this is the future of bands, where everybody's has their own studio space. I think of Shellac was sort of the first band that kind of comes to mind, of a band of engineers and producers, for want of a better word. But there's Do you think the logic would say, or reason would stand to reason that recording would be very easy? But something tells me that there's actually it's probably a lot more complicated than that, because everybody has their own studio. Or how is that sort of worked for you?
We've currently been working in Vito's studio a lot, which is really fun. It's like a little clubhouse. It's like a little white box on top of a roof in Greenpoint, with an amazing roof deck that you can look at the cityscape on. So that was far less depressing than the one in Dumbo, which was in a basement with, you know.
that we're coming back to soon.
Don't say anything bad. It's gonna hear.
I'm not slagging off. I'm not slagging off Steve's studio. It's awesome.
I heard it. I heard it.
Once you get through the door and you're in his room, it's great. But the journey
Everything
there's
outside of the door.
Yeah.
All right,
I
Steve.
like the neighborhood. I miss the neighborhood. I like hanging out in the neighborhood.
I'll agree with that. Everything outside the door of the studio is grim. Yeah, when Phil and I were both down here, I remember years before coming down in this neighborhood, and I didn't want to physically be here. I felt unsafe. And when there was I was looking for a studio. I was in this building first before Phil, chronologically, and I remember I came down here and I thought I don't want to be down there, and I came down and people were having brunch on the sidewalk and stuff, and I thought what happened here, you know?
Yeah.
And then Phil showed up one day and I was like, oh my God, you're here too now.
There goes the neighborhood.
Totally. I knew it was fancy when Phil showed up.
Yeah. But yeah, so Steve, what is your where did you begin? Where does it all start? And how talk us through it and how you got to this point now.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm from Rochester, New York, which is western in the state, and it's more Midwestern than it is the city. Like the closest cities to Rochester when you're growing up there are like Toronto, maybe Cleveland. And so growing up, I was like, at some point in high school, I was playing music, and I thought I can't stay here. I had a band that was playing in there, just playing guitar too, and I was having a good time. But the band broke up. I learned a lot about what not to do in a band. The band had, what you at that time called label interest, and we did a little touring all through my senior year of high school. I was starting to not be at high school anymore. I was like away. And we'd come down to New York and play for like really fancy, Seymour Stein and Gary Gersh, really big wig guys. And then the band broke up, kind of imploded, and I had to figure out if I was gonna, go to college, like really basic stuff. And I decided to move to New York. It was either move to New York or move to LA with the singer from the band. And I wasn't so keen on that, and New York wasn't too far. But it was like, you want to, New York, I thought, was it. So I moved here and started a band called Longwave. And Longwave was playing around for about a year or two before we were friends with a lot of bands. We were always easy to, I don't think we made very many enemies among bands. And one of our friends started managing the Strokes, and the Strokes took off. And they kind of took us with them in a way. Like I think the way the Strokes happened was so like meteoric, and there was, I didn't kind of realize at the time, but I think there were a lot of people that wanted a piece of that, and for them, they just brought their friends on tour. So for little old me from Rochester, New York, like all of a sudden there are labels interested in the band and in our band, and so we were able to turn that into a thing we did for a few years. Like that was my job, and it was fun. We toured a lot, and I didn't realize that parallel to this was all the DFA stuff. All these things were also happening in New York at the same time that the Strokes thing was happening, and we were firmly in that camp. Meanwhile, I think literally 3 blocks away, Vito and Phil were going to Plant Bar and hanging out, and I was going to 2A and hanging out, and those bars are literally 2 blocks away from each other. This was all happening at the same time, but I didn't know them and they didn't know me, and so
I was at Plant Bar too.
you were there too. So Jaiko was there too.
And 2A too.
Yeah, you're at both. You were probably.
I was everywhere.
No, she was at the coral room as a mermaid swimming through the fish tank.
I was at Niagara Google dancing too.
Yeah.
Forever.
That's right.
So I don't know. That's how it was for a long time, and then at some point I wasn't able to support myself doing that anymore. I started playing guitar on tours for people, and I was kind of floating for a little while, and then I did a song because we had a publisher for Longwave that out of nowhere was used in one of these Twilight movies. And I I had done it on an M-Box. You know what an M-Box is?
Yeah, small recording device, not too
I
complicated.
mean, this was the Generation 1 M-Box USB 1 device that, you know, I knew at the time it was $190 or something. I mean, it really is like an insult to proper engineers all over the world over, you know?
Yes.
And this is what I used to record this song that was, you know, in this huge movie. And I got a windfall of money. I was dead broke, and I got this big windfall of money. And I remember a good friend of mine told me that, you know, you should stop buying guitars. You should start really thinking about microphones, and this is what you do. You know, you got this M-Box thing that we've been using is bullshit.
even though you just made all this money, you're like, I don't know.
I know.
Maybe it works.
Yeah,
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but
yeah.
so that's how I came to start a little place. I mean, I never had a studio for other people to use. It was just for me to make demos and ideas of songs. And I was still touring, and then my wife and I got married, had our first son, and that kind of coincided with meeting Phil. And Phil at the time was doing film score stuff, but also TV commercials. So the company where Phil was at started hiring me to do TV commercial music. And that coincided really nicely because I was not going to be on the road as much anymore. And so that's kind of what was happening for years. And I think in relation to Wah Together, when we had the studios next to each other, me and Phil, we would walk through the hall and we would say stuff to each other like, you know, remember when we used to have amps pointed at each other and blasting each other, blowing the other guy away, you know, like, wasn't that fun? It sounds painful the way I just described it, but it was really fun, you know? So that's kind of what led to Phil saying, you know, I'm going to get Vito down. And as far as I remember, Phil actually co-opted Vito, like totally ambushed Vito. I don't think Vito was expecting to play the drums the day he came down.
I thought I was just going to go look at the studio.
Yeah, you were all like interested in the studio.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, for years we'd be like, I was building out my little studio. I was like, hey, we should check out our studio. So
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so but that's basically, and that's why I had a bunch of stuff. I'd literally just roll it down the hallway over into Phil's studio, and we would work on Wah Together stuff. But so I guess that's the short version, or I guess relatively short version of the situation, you know?
Again, yeah, I'm sure there's a million stories in there. I mean, from Rochester to you know, big labels buying you dinner as a teenager.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
there's a whole head
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
there, and then being on tour with the Strokes, having one major label door closed to then this other world that you weren't even expecting. You know,
no, there were a lot of, I mean, I was doing that for years, playing guitar for James Iha from the Smashing Pumpkins, and Albert from the Strokes had a solo band. I was really doing that. I just, it's not really sustainable. The commercial thing isn't sustainable either, but it's more sustainable. It's more like, you know, the tour ends, you're done. Like, that's over, you know, like, you know, they could never call you again. You're done. But you know, the thing about meeting Phil and was cool because we were doing these TV commercial jobs, and I kind of like doing those kinds of jobs. They're short, they're finite. It's unlike a record where you can labor over it. This thing has to be done by 3:00. Like, and you know, Phil was always cool because it was always cool doing stuff because, you know, you'd get told, can you just, you know, this is back when all the commercials had like ukulele and hand claps and stuff.
Yeah. Before the foot stomping and the group O's.
Yeah, and someone would say, you know, I know it's kind of annoying. Can you just do the ukulele and the hand claps? And I would say, yeah, amazing, fine. Like, as long as everybody knows it's annoying, I can do it.
Because it's not your art. It becomes a craft at some point.
No, and that's
you're creating a chair or a table or building a car. I've
met people, I know Phil can probably relate too, that do that kind of work, and it can get confused. That's their art, you know, and it's really not. It's really just about solving a problem for their whatever movie, or the movie is different, but whatever commercial spot, like just solving that 30-second problem is not, I mean, I guess can be artistic sometimes, but I don't look at it like that at all. And I know Phil doesn't. Like, we're talking about Wah Together was an expression of, like, Phil and I, at least for me, we're doing that even just a few years too long, where it's like, you know, now we need another outlet for this kind of, you know, the way Watts guitar sounds with that fuzz guitar sometimes that my part of it wouldn't really fly in a Cheerios commercial. You know?
Yeah, I do know very well. Yeah.
Yeah, but the cool thing about meeting Phil was like over time we started. I remember being at Hi-Fi, the bar with you, Phil, and which was Brownies years ago. And I remember just having a beer with Phil, and Primal Scream came up, and I remember talking, and I can't remember, but somehow it came up that Phil was on the record Exterminator.
Whoa.
I was
It's a
like,
great
fuck,
record.
you're on Exterminator, Phil? Like, I would just find out stuff about Phil over the course of this time. And it's like, you know, he's not going to tell you, you know, but it was cool. It was like, and it was also, like I say, it was someone that I knew had a background that was cooler than doing these TV spots. Not that that's not necessarily cool, but it's just someone like you're getting to know the depth. And it was like, I like this, you know, can bring more to the experience. But I think I feel like I want to make it clear that no matter what Vito or me or Phil can say about the cool tours we were on or the people that we still are friends with or whatever, none of it can compare to Jaiko. Everybody I've met that I say I'm in a band with Jaiko, everyone's like, I love Jaiko. And like people that I would never even think knew Jaiko from 10, 15 years ago. And they're like, you're in a band with Jaiko? Like, it's a whole...
Yeah, that just happened. I think his name's Ryan. He's one of the bartenders, owners of Max Fish. I'm blanking on the name. But he was here. Huh?
Mark Renzo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was here, and then John, he was looking at, we were showing the studio, and I was like, oh, that's one of the bands that plays equipment. Waw Together. He's like, Waw Together? Jaiko's band. Like, I love Waw Together.
Amazing.
Yeah, Mark saw us at the, remember Mercury Lounge? And he was like, your guitar player is a monster. So he wanted to put you on the shred fest too, Steve.
No.
Yeah, Steve, you should get on that shred fest.
Yeah.
You'd be a contender, man.
I don't know about that.
Well, all right. Well, we're getting close to the end here. I feel like we covered a lot of territory, but you know, individually, this is a lot of great stuff. I have a segment that I've been calling the Gear Corner, and it's a little bit of theater of the mind. And I think we'll kind of I think maybe go around one by one. But that we're gonna travel down the hallway here at Hyphenate Studios, and we're gonna open up each one of your gear corner, and you're gonna tell me what's in this corner and what kind of gear you have to do the many jobs that you do. What are some indispensable tools of the trade that you could describe? So I'll start with I don't
know what I think you're gonna have to narrow it down.
Well, we're going to talk about let's say two things you couldn't live without gear-wise, meaning or with tools you need to do the job. If you only had two things,
you've got a glockenspiel,
a Watt Together recording session or show. There we go. How about that? So yeah, and we're going to talk about gear, right? So there's a little bit of gear. I know we could probably nerd out for another 6 hours about this, but we'll keep it fairly swift. So Jaiko, welcome to. Let's walk for a second. Hold on. Follow me. We're gonna go over here. All right, we're walking. Okay, we're opening the door. Jaiko, we're in your gear corner. What is here? Tell me about two of your favorite things you have here in this gear corner.
Wow, I got no gear.
Okay, so there's cobwebs over here. There's some dust over there. I'm imagining you have some type of 58 microphone with a windscreen. No, not even that. No. Do you have?
Oh yeah, got glockenspiel.
Meditate.
Yeah.
Okay, a mat to meditate. Now, what about some type of a writing device? Is there a pad and pencil there where you would reflect on the words that you would create for this project, or what?
Yeah, I have a notebook and a pen.
Okay. All right.
Those are two things.
All right, I'll take it. Okay, Vito, how many drum keys are on your keychain right now in your corner?
None. You know, and I get, well, I have this thing about keychains. I don't like having a lot of stuff in them, like in my pockets. So I should keep one on there because there's times when I need it, but I have like 20 drum keys right there on the shelf. So actually, maybe I will put one on my keychain right now.
Oh my God.
But yeah, none. I always have earplugs in my pocket.
Okay,
That's
the other side.
that's one thing for the last 10 years. I always have that.
What
and
kind?
That's come in handy.
What kind of earplug?
Well, I usually have just the foam.
Oh, yeah.
Just foam ones,
Yep.
And then I have these like custom made ones that, like, I'm DJing tonight, so I always try to remember to
The custom
pack
ones.
them. Or if I'm on the road, I bring.
I lost my custom earplugs within like the first month. I spent all the money, went to the person, they took a mold, they did the whole thing, over $200, and they're just gone. I'm like, okay.
I know. Yeah, thankfully I somehow held on, but I'm super, like, I lose stuff all the time, but with them I'm like hyper focused about.
That's good. Yeah.
Where
Too
they
expensive
are,
to lose. Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay, so what else is in Gear Corner? What else is there?
Oh, Gear Corner. Probably just my drum kit. I mean, for Law Together. That's it.
Is that a
But the funny thing is, I play on Law Together. I played the first album. Most of it's on the drum kit. It was at Phil's, which was that Pat's? I don't even know whose drums it was, but I play on whatever drums. Usually the shows, I just use the backline because I hate lugging around drums. Like, yeah, I love drumming, but like I hate everything that comes with it. Like having to carry them or record them, or like I'm really lazy, I guess. Like when it comes, like, I mean, I do it out of necessity, but like I love to drum, but yeah, like all the other stuff is just a pain to me. Like tuning drums, that's why I probably don't have a drum key. Like that's why I got these Ludwigs, because they just sound pretty good and stay in tune. So like that's why I didn't get them because they were cool looking or cool. I just got them because they sounded great.
That was just a bonus.
I don't have to tune them. It was bonus, yeah. But it was mainly just because I don't have to tune them a lot, and they sound how I want them to sound. So
amazing. Okay, Phil.
Yeah.
Let's come with me down the other hallway. We're gonna walk. Okay, we're opening this door. Okay, now we're in Phil's gear corner. What gear do we have in here, Phil?
Well, there's my Sun amp, which weighs about 3 tons.
Which Sun amp?
It's the 2000
Ooh.
with a 1x18-inch speaker
Wow.
cab. But I'm seriously starting to think about looking at those Kempers.
Come on.
Complete opposite.
Just from those Suns, it's the giant transformers in the outputs, right? That's that you get the two like 30-pound magnets that sit on the back of those.
Huge valves. Yeah, I think it's got like 12 valves in it or something like ridiculous.
Yeah. Those are beautiful things, but yeah, they're backbreakers. Oh, and the 118 doesn't help either.
That doesn't help anymore either.
Okay.
But that's not too bad actually, because it's just one speaker in a big cabinet.
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of 4 12s, so that's not too bad. But the head,
our 810's the size of a refrigerator. Yeah.
Exactly.
Basically gets heavy quick. Okay. So you got the Sun 2000, the 118, and then
and me and Steve are big pedal boys. And we're lucky enough to be signed to a label that makes really cool guitar pedals as well. Oliver's company, Death by Audio. I'll give them a plug.
Oh yeah, shout out.
We all went shopping there at their warehouse the other week, and we get friends and family discount. So got a bunch of those pedals. Me and Steve recently got into organising our pedal boards a bit better. I've always been a gaffer tape and 9-volt battery guy.
I want to make an asterisk right here, because when it comes to my turn, I'm going to show you just how organized things are over here.
Even in my LCD days, it was always half dead 9-volt batteries, having to put them on your tongue, and gaffer tape and. But we finally invested in some of those Gator cases, and proper power supplies, and so it's getting really pro now.
Watch out! Don't go selling out. Don't go too professional. not at this stage of the game. Can't do it.
No, yeah.
Amazing. What about those flat patch cables? Have you gotten into that? Have you gotten that far?
Yeah. Yeah.
the EBS, the ones from
Yeah.
Sweden. Now Fender makes some, but yeah, that's the game changer right there.
Yeah.
That's how you know someone's really a pro. It used to be if you put your cable like through the strap. You know what I mean? If you had, that used to be the mark of a professional. Now, if you got the flat patch, now you really know someone's cooking with gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Randy, I'm starting to get a vibe from you that there's some real gear nerddom happening over there. in
Yeah,
your
I'm not
direction.
sure. Well, yeah, if I tilt the camera over there, there's that
Yeah.
zone, right? That keeps going into infinity, and then all of these
And beyond.
baffles. These baffles all hide more stuff that I can't. That
Nice.
would cause me to freak out. Yeah, there's a lot of the yeah. I'll text you a picture of the pedal shelf I built. I eventually had to do that. Anyway,
At least you have a pedal shelf.
it got to that point. Yeah, the milk crates were full, and then I had to do something about it. Okay, but yeah, Steve. Now, as we say, we're gonna leave Phil's gear corner. Now we're gonna turn the corner around there. But don't mind that. It's the bathroom. There's the dogs. There's the cat. Open up your door to your gear corner. What are we finding in here, Steve?
So are you talking about you mean very, very specifically just gear, like musical equipment?
Yeah, I want to nerd out. I mean, I figured everybody who does a job
All right.
who has to do
All right.
multiple things
All right,
has
we're gonna
one or two
do
pieces of gear.
this
Again,
Andy. We're
I
gonna
feel like
do this.
you and I may have a six part 2 hour podcast each. We could have 40 hours of content about here, but yeah. But for now, this is just a preview. Yeah.
So this is my studio I'm in right now, right? So here's where the drums are. That's a Ludwig kit. There's some guitars.
Beautiful.
If you go over here, there's some more. These are all like fretted violins and octave ukuleles. There's let me read what it says. I don't even know. Baritone uke, slide ukulele, lap steels. Here's my piano. Here's a Juno that was out for work yesterday. Here's some rack stuff. It's rack stuff. Here's more guitars.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Semi hollow bodies. Yeah. We have 335s. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah. Here's how organized things are getting over here. You can tell things are really pro.
Just piles and piles of pedals. Yep.
Here's some guitars and old Fender Tweed amps.
Beautiful.
Brown Fender amp.
My God.
59 Bassman.
There we go.
That's
what the Model T, the Sun Model T was based off of, the Bassman circuit.
Yeah, this is 64 White Jaguar. Deluxe Reverb Tweed Twin.
Whoa. Okay.
More basses, guitars,
What
banjos.
So I'm in a similar boat to you. Yeah, there's the quantity, but what's the one you're gonna play? You're just gonna kick out some jams. You come in. What are you plugging
This
into?
is my
What?
guitar.
Got it.
This is the guitar that I probably. It's funny. I don't use this guitar for work, like commercial stuff, really. But this is a wah together guitar. It's an old Jazzmaster. You can see. You know this. Already.
Beautiful. Yep.
So I've had this. I got it for my 30th birthday, which was a long time ago now. It was not as beat when I got it. So yeah, that's probably
your go-to. Just picking up a guitar, playing something that you pick that up. And what are you plugging it into? What's the
for wah together?
Yeah.
There are blonde. I like old Fender amps, and there are blonde. The record was a blonde Bassman, and I found a blonde Tremolux that had been. How nerdy do you want to get?
I don't know. What 30 more seconds of nerdiness.
We did the record with the blonde Bassman only because I thought it was cool and I wanted to bring it over. And I liked the sound of it because it was only one guitar and it was big sounding with closed cabinet. Like it was a really great sound. And then I saw this Tremolux up in Rochester on I guess eBay, but it happened to be in Rochester where I'm from, and it had been fucked. It had been effects send return put in. It had been 80s-fied, right?
Yeah.
But it was a white Tremolux with a cabinet, and it was cheap. And so I bought it, and I had my amp friend guy up there take all that crap out. And that's turned into the amp now I play with wah together. It's at Vito's studio. It's like the Bassman. It's a little not quite as loud, but it's a little meaner sounding. It's a little like gnarlier or something. But
love it.
Vito has it at his studio now. It lives there, and whenever Vito has someone come over and play guitar and play through it, Vito tells me they always
love it.
like it.
It's a great studio amp. Yeah, it's like always. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rare amp.
Guitar players come over like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rare amp because 210s. It's a bit odd because it's like, why did they even make a head and cabinet version of such a small amp? Like it's I guess maybe 35 watts, but it's 210s. So it's like, here's a Brown Bandmaster, 60 Brown Bandmaster. Oh, wow. There. And like, this is a bigger amp than the amp and head that I have that I play with Wah together.
Amazing.
This one, Randy, here's the nerdiest thing I'm going to show you. This amp is, if you look closely, can you see the knobs on it?
Yeah.
This is, so the innovation with these amps from Fender, before 1960, they were like this. Whoop, they were like this. They were tweed with the controls on top.
Yep.
The innovation with the Brown amps, no one had ever done this before, is they put the controls on the front. Right?
Yeah.
So that's great. First of all, that's an innovation. But the first thing if you really look, they didn't figure it out right away. And so the first few run of amps had the volume knob in the middle, which is bizarre. Like, you want the volume knob to be the first one, right? Every other amp you've seen since then, the volume knob is first. This one's in the middle. Wow. So it's anyway, get really nerdy.
This one goes to 11, and it goes to 11, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah, I know.
So anyway, the Tremolux is the other thing with water.
Don't even touch it. Don't look at it. Yeah.
Are we
Amazing.
supposed to get that nerdy?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I can explain the drum patches on my drum kit.
Oh, beautiful. This is a whole.
It's another podcast. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's the lifelong pursuit. Well, thank you guys so much.
I love that.
I really can't thank you enough. This is incredible. This is my first all band interview. This was really so much fun. I really appreciate you guys making time for me on a Friday. And it's been fantastic.
I feel like we should have a whole other hour. We just talk. I want to hear about you in LA, and I want to know what it was like watching New York in the 90s, like when your band was going in the beginning.
Oh my God!
Like, yeah.
We'll have to do this again.
We should interview. We're a big fan. I'm a fan of the music, the solo.
Oh my God! Totally. Oh my God! You guys are
we're all fans.
You guys are too kind. Well, we got to play more shows together. You guys got to come out here to LA when everything's working and cooking.
I know.
We got to do more. Yeah. I'm definitely down.
They got blonde Tremoluxes out there?
I would have to imagine. I don't, but somebody does. Somebody does. I'm sure Joe Bonamassa has 14 of them up in his hills there. We can read all about it in Guitar World and go bother Joe Bonamassa. I did go to Joe Bonamassa's garage sale twice. He had a little gear sell-off thing.
You are sick, just like me.
Yeah. John 5 was there from Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie.
Of course I know who that is.
Yeah, John 5 was there. And now of Motley Crue. The new
Motley Crue.
Yeah. Okay, all right. We got to these two guys. We're terrible.
And of one of my favorite Instagram accounts, Knights in Satan's Service.
Oh, no. I don't know this one.
It's only Kiss fan memorabilia from the 70s, basically.
Oh my God, that's incredible. There's we lost Phil on that one. Phil's like,
sorry,
all
Phil.
Right. I gotta go. I follow a good Kiss tattoo Instagram account. It's just all bad Kiss tattoos. And
that's good too.
Ronnie from the Muffs, the bass player from that band, the Muffs, shouted that one out, and so I started following it because of that. Okay, you guys, I've taken up way too much of your time. Thank you so much. Please, let's keep in touch. And I'm gonna stop the recording, and then we can talk for another second. Okay. All right. How awesome were those guys? Man, that was so much fun talking to them. Incredible stories. I did not know all of those ins and outs of everything they were up to. I mean, they put the super in supergroup, right? I feel like we could have jabbered on for another 6 hours. And we did. Once we were off the mics here, we did keep talking. And yeah, I feel like me and Steve have a whole other guitar nerd out podcast we can get into. So thank you for listening. And please go check out Wah Together. I'm sure they'll be playing in the New York area, and their songs and records are up for downloading and listening to on all the streamers as well as Bandcamp. You should really go out and support their Bandcamp page and buy stuff from them directly and from Dead Strange Records. Thank you, Ollie and Steven, for setting up this great interview, and I will talk to you guys all soon. Thanks. Bye.